Harry Potter author and vocal critic of the transgender activist community, J.K. Rowling, is clapping back at her haters. She posted some scathing words on her X account on Monday, coming on the heels of a New York Times article that discussed how people who disagree with pro-transgender activism have become targets. They used Rowling as a prime example. Opponents of gender ideology, J.K. Rowling writes, haven't merely endured unsparing criticism. I haven't simply been told I betrayed real feminism or received a few book-burning videos. I've been sent thousands of threats of murder, rape, and violence. A trans woman posted my family's home address with a bomb-making guide. My eldest child was targeted by a prominent trans activist who attempted to dox her and ended up doxing the wrong young woman. Gender apostates have been targeted for crimes such as doubting the evidential basis for transitioning children, for arguing for fair sports for women and girls, for wanting to retain single-sex spaces and services, especially for the most vulnerable. Now the political landscape has shifted, maybe parents arguing that boys ought not to be robbing their daughters of sporting opportunities might sort of have a point. Possibly letting any man who says, I'm a woman into the locker room with 12-year-old girls could have a downside. After all,
Last week's New York Times article read, to get on the wrong side of transgender activists is often to endure their unsparing criticism. When J.K. Rowling said that denying any relationship between sex and biology was, quote, deeply misogynistic and regressive. A prominent LGBTQ group accused her of betraying real feminism. A few angry critics posted videos of themselves burning her books.
Yeah, so this is all in response to a New York Times article talking about the tactics of of advocates for transgender people and gender transitioning, and about how those tactics are frankly not working and are creating a backlash not just against trans people but against the entire LGBT community, honestly. We've seen some small erosion in support for LGBT rights and gay marriage acceptance that to me is totally linked to the kind of overreach and the confrontational tactics of people who purport to speak on behalf of the transgender community. This is not an indictment of trans people at all specifically, most of whom are perfectly non-confrontational, but there are activists who speak on this issue who I have tangled with them. I have not gotten nearly the same amount of hate or death threats that, for instance, J.K. Rowling has, but I've certainly got some of my nastiest, most personal criticism coming from people on that issue who I wouldn't even classify myself as against. I think people should, as long as they're consenting adults, should do whatever they want with their own bodies, and that transitioning is a valid and good option for some people. I don't think it should be pushed or forced on underage kids. I think you really ought to think about whether this is the best thing for you, but that's a decision between you and your doctor, and I couldn't care less about it. And I am still an enemy for thinking that maybe if you're a boy and you announce that you're now a girl, that you should not immediately be on the girls' soccer team or in the girls' locker room. I have some questions about that, and I too have been judged an enemy of the community.
Yeah, the debate gets ugly, and you're seeing the ugliness of the internet here. You can perhaps offer some sympathy for people who feel like their lives are being threatened or their identities being denied, and so some of their reactions may go overboard. But I think what's going on here with J.K. Rowling is it's a real, I think, sign of where public discourse is right now. Because, look, J.K. Rowling is offering her critique of the trans movement. She wants the genders to be more separated, more binary, and it's okay to debate and counterpoint some of those issues. The thing, though, is that J.K. Rowling decided to make this her issue. Like, this is the hill that she's going to die on. And when that happens, it's completely wrong for people to be doxing people like it sounds like she got. But she has made herself vulnerable to the ugliness of the internet. If I were, I kind of wish I was advising her in a sense. I see this happen with so many figures who have a platform and can help move issues in a positive direction, and they get lured in to this political outrage ecosystem, and then they feel like they have to defend themselves more. They got pushed into a corner, and I don't know if J.K. Rowling even meant to be an anti-trans activist, but she has been lured and goaded into that, and I think that's partly part of her responsibility for now dealing with the backlash here.
Yeah, look, she has strongly held convictions on this issue, some of which I agree with and some of which I don't agree with. She has the right to speak out on it. Yeah, I'd be fine if she just sat back and continued to write Harry Potter novels. I have some ideas for a sequel series, actually, I'd love to discuss with her sometimes. But no, she feels passionately about this issue, decided to speak up on it and become involved. She thinks some of the tactics or the demands of this movement are a threat to female-only spaces, and that as someone who gets listened to and had an enormous amount of goodwill from young people, from everyone, frankly, because of the popularity of Harry Potter, of which I am very much a fan, that she could do some good by being vocal on this, and you are free to criticize even harshly and disagree with her and say that she's wrong, as many people, including many of the young people whose lives were forever changed by being part of the Harry Potter films, have spoke out against her. You could never get me to denounce someone who had done that much for my career. I just wouldn't do it. Sorry. But they felt differently. Fine. That's well within their rights. But the bigger thing is that the not just harsh but oftentimes violent rhetoric and imagery employed by the activists on these issues is not helping. It is setting them back. This is something Brianna Wu, who is herself a trans woman, has commented on our program. We've interviewed her a couple times, and she speaks out very much on social media. She obviously supports medical care for trans people. She is a trans person. She transitioned years and years and years ago, and she thinks what is being recommended for underage people with gender dysphoria is dangerous and is not scientifically sound, and again will contribute to a huge backlash on this topic. We're already seeing it.
Well, I think if you look at, I'm a fellow Harry Potter fan as well. Yeah. I would like to hear your thoughts on a potential sequel. But the story of Harry Potter is one of belonging. And there are many attempts throughout this story to help young people at a formative age feel seen and feel humanized, especially if they feel different or ostracized. And that's a really important message that very much resonated with me as a kid. And so I think when it comes to people who identify as trans right now, it's a very difficult journey, and where the conversation should go and where J.K. Rowling has a unique platform to facilitate is a Harry Potter spirited conversation about young people feeling seen and having respectful conversations about it. Now, has J.K. Rowling and the trans activists who oppose her been facilitating that? No. But it is an opportunity, because I think the story of Harry Potter is quite beautiful in that sense. For people who are looking for examples of trans leaders who I think are doing things the right way right now, look at the Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride. She was in the news because of Nancy Mace trying to say this the first ever Congresswoman, the first ever trans-elect person in Congress. Needs to be an issue. Which bathroom are they going to go to? And there was a big speech that Sarah McBride made, and she could have easily been the equal and opposite reaction to Nancy Mace, but instead had a practical speech about how democracy needs to deliver right now. And that's what, if you're looking for a playbook of how we should be leading on trans issues, I think that's it.
That does it for us today on Rising. We appreciated the discussion and debate that took place. Hope you did as well. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any of our content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere that you can find podcasts, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. See you then.